So this is just a visual representation of the danger zone, so you can get that into your brain and remember that 41 to 135 red part, which is where you need to keep the food out of. How do you minimize the time? It talks about on the left there. Put foods right away after receiving. Work with small batches. Keep the TCS foods on ice during preparation. Cool and reheat rapidly. That reminds me to say that the 4 hours within the danger zone is all the 4 hours. If you had it in the danger zone when you're preparing it, when you're serving it, um, when you're cooking it, all of that counts. Examples of some TCS foods would be raw and cooked meats, eggs, milk, cheese, cooked pasta, rice, beans, vegetables, baked potatoes, cut melons and cut tomatoes, cream pastries and desserts. Those would all be examples of TCS foods, as you can see there on the left. Well, it's time for my least favorite part of the food safety course, the bug names. But it is important at this level that you know the difference between one bacteria and another. Your pot washer doesn't have to, your servers don't have to, but you have to. We'll discuss why later, so you need to know one bacteria from another of the major ones. So here's the first one, Campylobacter. Guess where you would find that? Chicken. You see the chicken at the bottom, so I try to give you some visuals there to help you remember. Campylobacter, which you probably never heard of, is the most often isolated bacteria from people who had diarrhea from foodborne illness. It's most often found on raw poultry. Safest to assume that 100% of poultry has Campylobacter on it. So I read that somewhere, and shortly thereafter went on a tour of the Tyson plant, and which is an amazing clean operation. And I said, so I just read that you should assume 100% of poultry has Campylobacter on it. And his politically correct answer was, it's safe to assume that. They don't want people to get sick either, so they'd rather you assumed, even though he obviously wasn't thinking that was true, but he'd rather have you thinking it's true, and then you'll make sure you clean the product and you cook it to proper temperature, hold it at proper temperature, and all that. Prevention of Campylobacter would be through vigorous hand washing for 20 seconds, proper handling of the food, adhering to proper time and temperature relationships, thorough cooking. Salmonella, also very common in poultry. In eggs, 1 in every 20,000 eggs is infected, so I'm teaching some Navy guys, I suggested that one every other day. On an aircraft carrier, you're serving a salmonella infected egg because there's 5,000 sailors, 2 eggs a day. That's one every other day. What's that mean? Well, if that one egg that's infected happens to be the egg that the customer said, hey, just flip it over. I was just with a chef yesterday actually who did that. Just flip it over so it's like barely, so it won't run all over the place, and give it to me. If that was the 1 in 20,000 eggs, then guess what? Chef's going to end up, the eating chef is going to end up with salmonella. Raw meat, that's an infection. Salmonella is an infection, causes severe cramping, fever, and diarrhea. As I record this lecture in August 2011, Cargill recalled 36 million pounds of ground beef products when Salmonella Heidelberg was discovered. I believe it was 1 person died and about 70 ill as of the moment. Lawsuits are starting to be filed. In February 2007, the Dole Fresh Fruit Company recalled over 6,000 cases of imported cantaloupes after the fruit tested positive for salmonella, which was found in the storage bins in the field. They suppose they clean and sanitize those storage bins between times of running them in, dumping them, and bringing them back out to the field? Probably not. July 2008, serrano and jalapeno peppers caused foodborne illness, but $250 million in lost tomato sales later, they figured out it wasn't the tomatoes, it was serrano and jalapeno peppers, which seem to be pretty regularly found to be a problem. Prevention of salmonella is vigorous hand washing for 20 seconds, proper processing with adequate time and temperature controls.
And we have a massive food recall to warn you about this morning. The USDA saying that meat giant Cargill is recalling 36 million pounds of ground turkey. And that's linked to one death in California and at least 76 cases of salmonella in 26 states from coast to coast. Fox's Peter Doocy is live in Washington with more. So give us the context here, Peter. How serious is this public health risk?
Allison, this is a Class 1 recall where the health risk is high, according to the Food Safety and Inspection Service. That's part of the USDA. And now they're saying to look out for any ground turkey that says P963 on the inside of the USDA inspection label, P963. At least 77 people have been affected by this outbreak strain of salmonella in 26 states from the Atlantic to the Pacific. One of them has died, and that's why Cargill is recalling 36 million pounds of its fresh and frozen ground turkey made at a plant in Springdale, Arkansas. You can see the cases are spread out all over the map, and this is why.
When we see a lot of animals, whether they're birds or cows, being ground into meat and parceled out, we're more likely to see one illness or one pathogen spread out amongst lots of packages for consumers.
All the recalled ground turkey was produced between February 20th and August 2nd of this year. The USDA says the most common symptoms of salmonella are diarrhea, stomach cramps, and fever within 6 to 72 hours, then chills, headache, nausea, and vomiting for up to a week, Allison.
Ooh, that sounds horrible. So, Peter, other than looking for that number on the packaging, what else are consumers supposed to do to protect themselves?
Well, Allie, it's actually okay, believe it or not, to eat even the contaminated turkey as long as it's cooked to at least 165 degrees. But the government has some other pointers to keep people safe. They say make sure you wash your hands with warm water and soap for 20 seconds before and after touching any raw meat. Keep the raw stuff away from anything that's not going to be cooked, and refrigerate raw meat within 2 hours of buying it, 1 hour if it's going to be more than 90 degrees in the car or in your kitchen or wherever you keep your ground turkey. Allison.
You know, they say that the way you know that it's 20 seconds of washing your hands is just saying happy birthday. I've heard that tip, too. Thanks so
I will
much,
keep
Peter.
that in mind.
Do that. Thanks for the tips.
Thank you.
Shigella is an infection, causes severe diarrhea, cramping, transmitted by cross-contamination. It's a fecal or poop bacteria. Implicated foods include ready-to-eat items such as salads, milk products, vegetables, contaminated water. How did all those get contaminated? From cross-contamination from people going to the bathroom, animals going to the bathroom. That's why I have the cow there. Cow goes to the bathroom, has Shigella, chomps through their own poop and carries it in, can wind up in the meat and all kinds of things. Prevention of Shigella is good old vigorous hand washing for 20 seconds. How do we tell 20 seconds? Happy birthday twice. And good personal hygiene. So we've got a picture of hands being a problem and also salads where Shigella could wind up. So the hands represent cross-contamination. Foods associated with Shigella include salads, raw produce, milk and dairy products. Contamination of foods with this bacteria is most commonly because of unsanitary handling of food by the food handlers or contaminated water. Listeria is an infection, especially dangerous in pregnant women whose infants may be stillborn if infected. Listeria can grow at refrigerator temperatures. Sources for listeriosis: inadequately pasteurized milk, deli meats, hot dogs, other refrigerated, ready-to-eat foods. So what kind of a restaurant, what style of a restaurant does that look like? Deli meats, hot dogs look like a Subway, right? Which I find to do an excellent job just saying that type of restaurant, because they have the deli meats and the hot dogs. So if you're pregnant or your spouse is pregnant and you have a hankering for a Subway type of restaurant, I would be making sure that they appear to be doing, to the best of your ability to see it, good food safety, because they could possibly have listeria, and that could cause you to lose your baby. Prevention of listeria is to clean and sanitize surfaces, preventing cross-contamination, such as deli slicers, even floor drains. When you wash your vegetables, where does the dirt and the bacteria go? It goes down the floor drain. Well, if you don't clean that and sanitize that floor drain periodically, then you get cross-contaminated onto your shoes, and then you tie your shoes and you get cross-contamination from the floor drain. So that's important as well. Avoid cross-contamination, and good old vigorous hand washing for 20 seconds. Vibrio is an infection, causes diarrhea, vomiting, chills, and fever. Usual source of Vibrio is raw shellfish or improperly cooked fish. Prevention of Vibrio is good personal hygiene, which includes hand washing and clean uniforms, so you don't get cross-contamination from your uniform. Proper processing, and avoiding raw seafood, especially oysters. So if you're going to eat raw seafood, you have the potential to get Vibrio. So make sure that that place is doing a good job on food safety, keeping the food cold, etc. Otherwise, you are at risk.